It's not a badly written series. It's just weird choices.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Volume 1, the anime and manga podcast where we review the first volume of a brand new manga each week. My name is Josh the Shield Michaels, and today, as always, I am joined by...
Megan the Demi-Human Perrine.
There we go.
Cody the Sword.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning into another
Spear.
episode. You already said what you said. Today, we are going to be reviewing Volume 1 of The Rising of the Shield Hero. This is a series that I believe Cody has seen the anime of. Right, Cody?
I saw the anime, and then I read a lot of the manga, and then I dropped it at a certain point.
Oh,
Yeah, and we'll probably
wow.
get into that. But I had no idea what to expect. Obviously, this is a super popular series in the isekai genre. It's a popular anime. Megan, you'd obviously heard of it, but had you seen it or read it?
I have seen the character, obviously, called Rasputin. Her name is not Rasputin, it was Ratilia.
Raftilia?
Raftilia, yeah, I've seen her, of course, in the cosplay community. How could you not see this character or, see her at all? And I'd known about it, and this is on the record. I've said it many times on this podcast. My favorite genre is not isekai. I'm not an isekai girl, never have been, might never will be.
Yeah.
And this kind of proves my point.
Oh, wow. Not to repeat things, but our other isekai episode didn't get a whole lot of views, so I'm going to repeat it. I do enjoy isekai, but I enjoy a very specific kind of isekai. Konosuba is one of my favorite isekai animes. Obviously, Re:Zero is amazing, and I do love Reincarnated as a Slime. So for the most part, I do enjoy isekai. We did one other isekai series on this podcast, The Faraway Paladin, and that was a mixed bag between the three of us. I think you guys both didn't really like it. I really did like it. But that's the extent of our isekai discussions and reviews
I wouldn't
on
say
this
we
channel.
didn't like it. We just didn't know how to feel.
I didn't-
Very aloof.
Didn't connect to it.
You were
at all.
both very indifferent about it.
Aloof.
Extremely indifferent.
Extremely,
Okay,
yeah.
indifferent. I guess we're just gonna go with that word.
Aloof is, it just doesn't feel like the
You're
perfect
aloof.
word.
You're
That's
aloof. You look
true.
like aloof.
Are you-
How about that?
What is that supposed to mean?
You take it how you want.
Well, I'm taking it bad.
That's the way.
Yeah, I've never. This was the only isekai story I've ever actually experienced. I don't like that. I've seen the things. I saw some of the Ram one.
Re:Zero.
Re:Zero,
That's
yeah.
the best way to describe it.
I like something that always just ticks me off is how they're like, oh, then they walked down the street and then they did it. I don't like how there's never an explanation for it and people just move on. So this got points for me for the fact that they explain it in any way, shape, or form, why it happens. The charm of oh, it's RPG settings wears off incredibly fast for me. But yeah, that's...
Well, yeah, because, when you look at isekai, there's a lot of different types, but this is a type that does feel at times like it is following a little bit of those RPG game mechanics. And Konosuba does it too, where you're actually getting stats in world.
Yeah, the whole icon thing, which is fine, because I did like it because it was self-aware of that, which I didn't have a problem with, but
Yeah.
There's a book series called Bright Blade, which is a very fun story about a British bouncer who gets isekai'd into a world, and they do a very satisfying way of explaining why he just be walking down the street and then he's in a village being attacked by orcs, and when he dies he just returns back to Earth. They explain that. They explain why he sees things in RPG settings, because they do a spell on him to transfer data and stuff. So it does a very that impressed me with how it does that. But that is the best way I've ever seen an isekai done. It was pretty by the numbers of you unlock spells with experience points, and it's why?
Yeah, and speaking of books, obviously this is based on a light novel series, like a lot of isekai are, and there's even a little section at the very end of Volume 1 that has an excerpt from the light novel, or is something that the author of the light novel has included in the manga. And it's a really cool little origin, sort of the day leading up to him getting to the library kind of thing. So that was really fun to read, and because I've never read a full light novel before, so it does kind of give me a better idea of, especially after reading that little excerpt from Goblin Slayer too, sort of what to expect going into a light novel versus a manga, because they are a little different than I think a traditional novel. But I didn't know what to expect going into Shield Hero, and
a huge factor for me getting into it is I liked that the costume design wasn't like way out there.
Mm-hmm.
I like how he just has like pants and a shirt and like a little bit of chest armor.
Yeah,
like that's what I don't like, when there's like giant shoulder pads and like way out there armor. So like I was like, the fact that they do that means I'll like give this a shot.
Yeah, and I didn't, like I said, know what to expect, but after reading the first volume, I did feel like overall it felt kind of wholesome. There are some things at the very beginning that are something I wouldn't necessarily expect to see in an isekai, especially one that looks like very cute on the front, of its cover. But by the end, it is very, very kind of this like wholesome story between him and the demi-human that we'll talk about later too. But it does tackle some weird issues in the very beginning. And it is, like I said, a bold way to start a story, but it is written by a female author, too. So I think if anybody's going to write about that, then that feels more appropriate, I guess.
Which, past Volume 1, they explore more of that world. But yeah, it just opens with the main characters being accused of a crime.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a solid opening.
I did enjoy that part. I was like, oh, this is very realistic. This is like a realistic way. And I was kind of shocked because we've read Goblin Slayer and like different things that handle like that type of accusation. But in those worlds, it's okay. Mm-hmm. And no one gets upset about it, and it just happens. But in this world, they're like, you monster! Yeah. And I thought that was so funny because I was like, normally...
Well, that's
no one gives a shit.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a spoiler for like why this world is different, but that is like a factor about this world.
Yeah. Which I was like, okay, I can respect this.
Yeah.
They're dignified and they know right from wrong, but again, people can say things that aren't true.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a spoiler to say why, but it's a minor story detail. But yeah, this world is like different and how like standards are and stuff. So like, yeah, when someone is accused, it is like immediately like taken very seriously. Like, oh, if it wasn't, in a different situation, that is like a good thing.
Yeah. And so before we get into it too, I just want to read a quick little synopsis just in case there's anybody out there who has no idea what the Rising of the Shield Hero is or about.
Rising with the shield.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, this synopsis is a little long, so but it doesn't give too much away. But I mean, to paraphrase it, basically,
every synopsis he says doesn't give too much away,
and then it kind of always does.
Yeah, and then you like, oh, I should have stopped at this point. But
okay, well, let me freeball it. Hey, check this out.
Whoa!
I'm freeballing.
Can I rip it?
I need the rest of it.
Okay.
That would have been cool, but I need the rest of it. Anyway, it's about a guy named Naofumi, right? Who's an otaku who gets summoned to a fantasy style type world.
Classic bit.
Because he got summoned that way. Well, I guess we'll talk about that. I'm supposed to be paraphrasing a synopsis right now.
He opens a book called The Four Heroes, and then he gets summoned with 3 other people.
Sure. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then
shenanigans
it
ensue.
looks like a pretty straightforward isekai.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you get stats.
Well, and there's a prophecy.
Yeah.
There's 4 heroes. The spear hero, the sword hero, Megan, the phone hero. The spear hero, the shield hero, the sword hero, and there's like a bow and arrow or hero.
Yeah. And as he's reading the book, he's like, man, who would want to be the shield hero? And wouldn't you know?
You watched the anime, right?
Yeah.
I was finding very clear differences in the manga versus the anime and how they dealt with these 4 or 3 other people that were summoned. In the manga, they're kind of like, this is fine. Like, we're just going to go along with the flow. In the fucking anime, they're totally, completely different characters.
They piece together what's happening. The anime does a lot of scenes better than the manga does.
Yeah, and it makes, like, it's so funny because they're, like, setting terms, and, like, in the manga, they kind of just accept everything. They're like, okay, I'm this person. In the anime, they're like, well, do you just expect us to work for you for free?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they're like piecing together what's happening with each other. Like, you know, where are you from? What do you know? Blah, blah, blah. Like they talk and interact and they get along, which is why it hurts more when the thing happens. Because now Fumi is like already like forming friendships with these people who are like very, they're like they're theorizing what's going on. What do you think? What do you think? Did you use that term? That's different than a term I use. And so it's the manga is weird. Normally it's the opposite.
They're like nice with each other kind of in the manga at first, and in the anime he's like, "Oh, we are in another world." And they're like, "Yeah, we're probably next to the Mediterranean, so it's just like the climate here." And he's like, "Okay, fuck me."
Yeah,
he's like, "I guess I'm not smart enough to understand that."
In the manga, you're right. They don't establish really a relationship between them, and so when whatever happens, and he is sort of betrayed by one of the other members, it doesn't feel like it's as big of a deal. What does feel like a big deal is what he's being accused of, but the actual betrayal between those two people doesn't feel that big.
In the anime, like it really helps him feeling like, you guys just talked to me. You should, like, it is like I shouldn't even have to explain to you that like I didn't do this.
Well, yeah, and I thought it was interesting too, going back to that little excerpt at the very end of the first volume, that I think Naofumi's character wasn't really portrayed accurately. There just seemed like there was a big difference between the light novel depiction of Naofumi, because it opens on him. This is all pre him coming to the world, so obviously it's not a spoiler, but he's playing a sort of MMORPG online, and he's talking about this like that he had a real world meetup with these guys in his game, and they had a good time, and he sung karaoke and he danced, and just they talk about like what he means to this group and what that group means to him and who he is, and he didn't feel like the same Naofumi that we saw in the manga.
He felt like a loner.
Yeah, he felt kind of dumb.
Yeah, well, he's kind of dumb in both a little bit. Like, I don't know, I kind of took it in the anime like they're kind of being like assholes a little bit.
Well, because they immediately disrespect the fact that he got stuck with it being the shield hero. So it's kind of like, well, he's not as cool or useful as what we have.
Yeah.
And some of them are like, I don't think this is real. I think we're in some like
a lot of
VR simulation, and maybe part of it is they make us forget. And I mean, there's like digital text with like stat upgrades, and that, I mean, if this is a fantasy world, why does that work? That's a thing that I will never not be annoyed with if they don't ever justify.
Do they justify it?
In the book Bright Blade, they do. But not
in the Rising of the
It's
Shield.
just a thing that happens.
Yeah. And yeah, I've always thought that was such a weird device. I mean, I guess you could look at things like, I think people compare or their explanation as to why these things are popping up more and more and more is because of things like SAO and stuff like that.
Well, I like when like an isekai is aware, like at least like this person is put in this world. It's not like, whoa, like I'm put in this world. I have no idea what the fuck is going on. I have to learn as I go. Like, it's like, no, if you were in the real world and you're put in this position, like, and you played these games, like, of course you would know. Like, it reminded me of my life as a villainess, where like she was literally
your biography.
No, but I do like the anime a lot. She is put in this game that she played in high school or junior high, probably in high school, and she's like an otaku, and it's like a dating sim, and then she realizes like, oh, like I'm in the game and I have to do certain things to make sure certain events happen, and I like that. Like, that's how you go through the strategy, where as like Naofumi is kind of like, they're kind of like piecing it all together. He's still like, I get it, but I don't get it.
Yeah, he was recruited last for whatever reason too, so they've already kind of established with each other. That's why in the anime, when it helps that they all get there at the same time.
Yeah.
And, more of us, you're like, you get to know characters and stuff. So,
I wonder which one is a more faithful adaptation to the light novel.
If the anime is not more faithful and they just added all that stuff, I mean, those people are very unsung heroes for adding that much more depth to the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because where we open, I mean, yeah, he's summoned there a little late. He's the last one summoned. It's this world that nobody really knows anything about, but they're all saying it's VR. They are all obviously represented by different weapons, the shield, the staff, the sword, so on and so forth. They're basically a group of people is let in to decide who they want to join, and everybody has about 5 or 6 people, and Naofumi has no people. Nobody decides to join him, and he's sort of, because he's the shield hero, and we don't know, we find out very quickly, but we don't know exactly why. that is as bad as it is, because he thinks at that time, yeah, I'm the shield hero, but I could still, that's just my weapon. I could still, get a
Also,
sword.
that's the thing is Vikings use shields as weapons.
And and then at a certain point too, he gets like a pickaxe shield, and he's like mining stuff.
It's like, I mean, you could, use that.
Yeah.
And what I don't get is like, okay, you have all these different weapons, and then the shield hero, and it's like, what do you expect him to start off with? Like, why is everyone like, your highest regards are going to save us from this prophecy? It's like, but you summon a guy with a shield. Like, what do you expect from him at
the
first?
The world treats it like, look, we have this system where we can summon 4 people. We love 3 of them.
Yeah.
Someone just gets stuck with, for whatever reason, the shield hero role, and we don't care.
Yeah.
No,
but it's part of the package deal,
and
that's just who you are.
He even talks. He's like they're all introducing themselves, and he's like, "Oh, my name's blah blah," and the king's like, "So anyway," and he's like, my name, hi," and he's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot you were there."
You'd think that it makes more sense because all of these people are supposed to fight together.
Yeah,
they're the prophecy. They're the unit that's supposed to come together to defeat all these monsters, but you find out that their magical items don't work together.
No,
that they have to be separate for them to.
They're at level 0. Like all of them are at level like 1 or whatever. They're like even though
they get close, they can't grow.
Why
would
they start? Yeah.
And then I mean, nobody joins his group, but one person does,
who is a typical bubbly anime girl.
Yes, and it's not great, but I think he's taking what he can get,
and you can be like, oh, okay, so love interest, here we go.
Yeah or just like someone to help him out. I was like, oh no, she was nice. Oh, okay, I'll help you out. Cool. Having like cute little dialogue. She's helping him, and she's like, this is helpful. She's helping him out. Like, oh, go to this map, and she knows more about the world than fucking he does. So he's like, this is great. Like, I need someone to get me through this because I don't have any support system here.
Yeah. And what he does, I mean, I like that he gets to walk through the world for a little bit with this person and see how friendly everybody is. And him going to that shop and meeting that shopkeeper who is very nice to him. And he supplies him with clothes. He buys clothes and weapons. And that's where he finds out
which is, one of those things that I can't have a hard time getting past in ReZero, which is, why doesn't he change his clothes?
I mean, because Subaru can't die. So it's like, it doesn't matter. I mean, he dies and then like...
What kind of logic is that?
That makes no sense.
He doesn't wake up naked.
No, but I mean, he resets. And sometimes he needs to die.
Let me ask you...
But why wouldn't he change clothes? Why wouldn't he get clothes if he just respawns in the same type of outfit?
Because that tracksuit is dope.
The tracksuit is ridiculous.
It's so cool.
All right, we'll move on.
Let's stay on track.
That suits me.
There we go.
But
Cody.
what he does do in the shop is he can't, before that, he does realize in that moment that he can't equip himself with other weapons. He tries to get a sword and it like error message pops up.
If he picks up, that's the reason for the pick. If he picks up a weapon with the intent to use it as a weapon, he gets shocked out. So that whatever weapon they're assigned with, they can only use that. So the bow hero can only use bows.
Yeah. He
can't use daggers or knives. Sword hero can only use swords, which, I mean, that rules. Spear hero can only use a spear. That's why, I mean, clearly these guys win. Now Fumi can only use a shield.
Yeah. But what is kind of cool about him being the shield hero, which I like, which I don't think I've seen anywhere else, is that even though he can only use shields, it's not just the shield that gives him his power. I mean, it gives him his power, but his body is also sort of a shield.
He has high defense.
Yeah.
So naturally he can that's the thing. He's a tank role. That's not useless in any.
Yeah, he can't really feel pain. I think pain is dulled for him. He can't feel it if it's
can't
to
taste.
a certain. He has coronavirus. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, he buys a lot of clothes and a lot of equipment for his companion. Everything seems like it's a beautiful friendship.
Rosie.
They go to a tavern. She tries to get him to drink. He says that he doesn't like drinking, and he goes to bed and he has this thought I think I'm in a pretty shitty situation, but things might be all right as long as I got this other person with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you think to yourself, maybe it will. And he wakes up the next morning. Everything is gone. He's been robbed.
This again is a scene pulled off way better in the anime.
Really?
Because it's dragged out a little more, and he's like, "What's happening? What's going on?" You see him like freaking out, like I've been robbed. In the manga, it's more of just like,
Hey.
Huh. Yeah, it was fast. It did happen fast in the manga, and he gets accused like right away, right? He gets taken in. The guards bust into the door immediately, and he's taken back to where he was summoned the first time, and basically he is accused of rape.
Yeah, the worst thing you could be accused of. Well, yeah.
Yeah, which is something I did not see coming
me
for
either.
a mile.
Me either.
Yeah, and that girl is the king's daughter.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah. And the king just was like, oh, I'll let my daughter, the princess, go up with the shield hero. So you see later on, he's like, you fuckers.
Yeah.
You fuckers did this. You fuckers are setting me up.
Well, was that the same way in the anime? Because in the manga, it does seem like one of the other people that was summoned there is in on it too, right?
Yeah.
Well, you just see that, like, because one, they all immediately are like, yeah, he was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And they already were like, he's a shield hero, who cares? And yeah, that's why in the anime it hits you harder, because he was like very friendly, and they were like teasing him, but it was like, how could you? What do you like? Come on, guys! But like everyone is against him on it.
Yeah, I did. I mean, even in this moment, I mean, I still did feel really bad for him, because everybody turns on him in an instant, and nobody is gonna believe him.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does, and nobody will believe him. And
He's already like, just kill me.
Yeah, he's like, if you don't like it, send me home.
Send me back. And they are like, you are part of the package deal.
God, that's the worst part.
They would have to die. All the other three would have to die before we could summon people again. So we're stuck with you. Otherwise, I would kill you.
And he's like, I'll just fucking kill all of you then. Like, let me go home. This is the worst thing. Like, you bring me to this place. I'm the shittiest person on the team. And then I'm accused of rape. And now I can't even move up at all because everyone fucking hates me. Like, this guy's just dealt the most horrible cards. And everyone, like, the princess, like, she's fucking in on it. Like, why was the princess able to join a team? Why was she even like? That just like brings up so many other questions.
Why does she? Yeah. Why does she need even the money? Really? Why does she need to steal the things that?
She robbed him too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and she took all his silver and took all. His, why does she need that if she's royalty?
Because she's a brat.
Yeah, and what is the other? What part does the other person play in it, or do the other people that were summoned there play in it? Because it does seem like there's a lot more happening. The king obviously says his. I guess sentence is that he can't kill him, but that he can just let everyone in the entire city know exactly what he did, or what he did, which is again such a crazy thing to write in a manga. And again, if it wasn't written by a female mangaka, I think would have come across, or not a mangaka, sorry, an author, it would have come across so much weirder. If it was written by a man, this would have been completely different.
I guess I did. I was like, this is great because we don't get to see this often. It's just a thing of the world where it's just like, oh, that happened. It happens. So get over it because it happens all the time. But it's like, oh, you did this to this person? I mean, of course it was the princess, so I don't know if it would have been in any other situation. But like, they were like, you fucking suck. We all hate you. You're ostracized. We're talking the whole fucking what is it? The fucking everyone in the castle. All the people at the fucking merchants are like, oh my god.
Yeah.
There's the fucking rapist guy. It's just like fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's one of those little things that this story does different. Is like that's the way that society is set up. Is it is like. Look, victims are immediately believed, so there's the plus there, and like that's how everything's set up differently.
Well, yeah, but I mean
it is like a different world.
Well, yeah, but I mean even still, I just feel like that's a dangerous story to tell in the wrong hands. I feel like that's a dangerous thing to say. Like, oh, that maybe I don't know, especially given the current climate that we're in. I think it's just I don't know. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's a small spoiler.
Uh-huh.
So, like, if you don't want that, I'll say at the end.
Save it for the end. I do want to
I'll save it at the end because there is, like, just a little insight into the way the world works that, like, I can see how, like, the reason is it's like, oh, what if the society was built up like this instead? This is how things could happen.
Like,
and that's how I view it as especially as I kept reading it. Whereas it was sort of just like, well, yeah, in this mirror universe where the system works differently here, it could be abused like this. So I don't,
I do want to know.
If it could be viewed as like especially, you watch any comedy specials, oh, it's gone too far. But I don't think that's what it. I don't like. That's not what it's supposed to like come. That's not what the point is going in. Is like look how it could be,
or look how like it's not just something that's there for shock value. Even
story wise, there's valid stuff going on.
I mean, well, that's good to know and good to hear that it doesn't just happen for no reason. But he's accused, he's ostracized, everybody's talking shit about him, and he's kind of, I think at a certain point, he kind of just makes it his mission to be stronger than everybody. That's going to be his sort of revenge, is to just be better than everybody and prove them wrong, I guess.
And because he has no attack, he just has to just beat the lowest level monsters to death to try to level up.
Yeah, this was, similar. These orange balloon monsters, they do feel like these low level monsters feel like the cabbages in Konosuba and things like that. It just feels like there's this period of grinding that these heroes have to go through before they can start fighting bigger, stronger monsters.
And I like I think the way he grinds is more interesting to me than what it would be if he was a fighter and how they would depict that, because it's like extracting animal and plant stuff and it gets absorbed into a shield, and like that can like be used in different ways. This would be like, I mean, I would be very bored if I played this game.
Yeah. Because
he grinds out alchemy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a smart thing to do if that's all you have. That would be so boring though.
Yeah. Yeah, it would not be fun, but it's cool to read.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then he decides basically that he's not going to be able to do it on his own.
Oh, he basically Animal Crossing.
Oh, are you setting up what comes next?
This part,
yeah.
This part, I was like, okay.
This is the start of a thing I have an issue with. I was like, series.
Okay, so this fool, obviously, no one wants to be on his side. So he just goes from not trying to make friends with anyone to like being like, I'm at my lowest point where I will buy a slave.
Yeah, this is the thing. He gets approached by the creepiest looking dude in a dark alley. He's like, follow me. And he's like, all right, let's...
What do I have to lose?
Fuck it.
Yeah,
honestly.
fuck it.
At this point, yeah. And he takes him into a tent where he just has caged demi-humans.
And yeah, the build up to this is like, because he can't even attack people, he just keeps like little monsters on him that like gnaw on him, but his defense is high enough to where it doesn't affect him. So the way he attacks people is he'll just like unravel his cloak and like throw a minion at people, and like that's turning into him having a reputation for like storing demons within him, and like his reputation is like growing more and more evil to the point where now a slave master like approaches and be like, I know.
I got just what you're looking for.
I heard about you.
Yeah. And this is, again, where I do feel conflicted even saying that towards the end of the first volume, it does start to feel wholesome. I feel conflicted because of like how the terms of which he has this person with him.
Yes, sure. Okay, great. You bought this person to help you out, but then let's just brand them so that everything that you say they have to do or they will get hurt. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was very active in making that happen. Like he had to like use his blood to make that happen.
Yes.
Plus, it's like, oh, here's all the slaves I have, and he's like, all right, I want only men if we can get it. I have a whole thing happening right now. Just get me guys, and it's like, well, here's a very powerful werewolf, and I'm like, absolutely, you should get a werewolf to. I mean, that's
that's the obvious choice.
So the whole time I'm reading this, as I'm going, I was like, when are you going back for the werewolf? Because it's like, why would you not go back for the werewolf?
And if you could brand them, I thought the issue was that like, oh, if he's too high level, he'll like turn on me. I was like, okay, that's smart to get someone. He's like too high level, I don't want him. I was like, okay, but if you can brand them to make them do what you want, then why would you not get them?
You should have shown me that a werewolf was an option, because I'm always going to be like, why would you never go back for the werewolf? Yeah. But then he's like, but I want a guy, and he's like, oh, is that a little girl? I'll take her. I'm like, you just said.
Yeah, his logic in the manga, though, and I don't know if it's this way in the light novel or the anime, but his logic in the manga is that he says, I don't want a woman or a girl because of what I've been through. But then he decides, oh, she looks kind of like this girl. She looks human enough. I can imagine that I'm forcing the person who falsely accused me of rape to be my slave.
Oh, this is where the main character becomes like pretty sinister.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, huh? I was like, what? I was like, okay, on board, well, whatever, fucking, you chose a little girl, whatever, and then you brand her? I was like, what's going on?
It's this middle part of the story that is just weird to me.
I think in the anime, they mentioned that, one, that was making sure I didn't flip off the camera. One, that the girl was the cheapest option.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, that he does think this is a video game.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in the manga, I think he still is kind of the mind that it might be a video game. And he doesn't think it's
it is sort of, I think he's at the point in a game where you're like, I'm going to quick save. So I'm just going to go on a little rampage here. I'm going to start kicking people around. I'm going to load up a save for none of this. So I think he is like, I'm not actually branding a person.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. The video game logic, because like, it's just make believe, like you're not actually doing it,
because it's like I beat up a balloon and I got a +2. I mean, this clearly isn't real. But in the manga it's like portrayed a little more sinister, where he is like, I'm gonna take out my anger.
And also they kind of mention it later on when like one of the heroes confronts him about doing this, and it's like he's like, okay, you did this where we come from, where you are actually from, this is not okay. He's like, we're from a place that had slaves. Like, what are you doing? Like, I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Also, I mean, if his idea is to prove everybody wrong, I don't think him walking around with a slave girl is doing him any favors.
After his reputation?
That's what I mean. Like, if he's trying to clear his name,
not a good look.
The first thing you want to do is
get a little girl
to
slave.
follow you around that has to do everything you say.
Yeah,
the best,
no.
The best thing to do would have been to get the werewolf.
Get the werewolf, level up. I mean, it's just so hilarious. Like, that point, like, brought me back into it when he was like, you're a fucking guy from Japan just like me. We're human beings in this century. Like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
But I mean, I think, he's being falsely accused, whether he thinks it's a game or not. I mean, he's obviously very mad, hurt, confused. I mean, he's not really, even in that sinister look in his eyes, like he is kind of like losing a little bit of himself. He's just like full of like, he's not thinking
Subaru
straight. I mean, Subaru, don't compare him to Subaru.
I'm just saying, like, Subaru does lose it.
Yeah,
on
Subaru
a handful of times and does
it.
Things that he shouldn't have done when he was told not to.
Well, but he does it to protect people, and I think.
But then they repeatedly say, don't do this, and then he shows up at a
But then ultimately,
palace unannounced, and they're like, why did you do this? And I told you not to do it. And he's like, but I wanted to save you. And she's like, why would you? I told you not to do it, so why the fuck would you come?
But then it all works out.
Sure.
And then it doesn't, but then it does again.
And then it doesn't.
And then he finally gets a new tracksuit.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then they just grind him and
Then they just grind.
him and Raffi.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, bah, bah. No, she grinds.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he practices herbal medicine and stuff.
She kills.
And that's another thing too. Another layer of this like sinister slave deal that they have is that like she doesn't want to kill. She like actually is traumatized because her parents were killed, and so he's like telling her like, I'm telling you to do it, you got to do it, and it's like her chest is sizzling.
She's like, ah.
Yeah, he like holds up an animal and like forces her to like impale it. Yeah, it is like, you it was like 2 days.
You took a turn for the worst, bruh.
And that's why the video game logic thing makes a little bit of sense, but this middle part is weird. And it's like, it's weird because he got there so quick. It's weird because it is like he's supposed to be someone we're rooting for and he is doing all these things. But then the only reason I say wholesome is because then he does sort of start to grow a heart for her and notices things like, oh, she's eating shitty food because she thinks that I want her to eat shitty food or that she deserves shitty food or something. And so, he hears her stomach growling and sees her eyeballing a dish that another kid is eating in a restaurant. And it's like, fine, I'll eat the shitty food but get her one of those, and he slowly starts to like do things for her, and she slowly starts to respect and look up to him.
One of the herbal things he does is make a medicine where I think they mention like, oh, she's dying of like a disease, and he just video game wise, okay, well, here's cure disease potion.
Yeah.
Which I like the thing of like, in that world, like that does cure a lethal disease though.
Yeah.
So like she was. Yeah.
But then again, I mean,
it gets a little nice where he's like, oh, I'll get you a ball.
Yeah.
But that's what I
But
mean.
then it's also like, why don't you go back to the werewolf?
Yeah, and then the power dynamic thing too. I mean, it does take a little bit away from
It's kind of
him being so
stuck
kind.
hold of me.
Yeah, because maybe it is that way. It's not like she really has a choice.
She didn't have a
Slave.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of slave like.
Yeah, almost as if she's a slave.
And this would be so much more different if that fucking brand was not in place.
Yeah.
Like
'Cause
I would have taken it.
In theory, you freed a child from slavery.
Great for you.
Which I think is what I thought he was doing. When I was reading it, I thought maybe he saw her and subconsciously, maybe he is angry, but in the back of his mind, he's like, I'm freeing a little girl from a cage.
Yeah, if he was like, give me a guy, I want to hang out with my bros. I'm tired of this. Chicks bringing me down, and he's like, "Oh, is that a little girl?" Okay, get the kid out of here.
But at the same,
but then he's like, "Yeah, you look a lot like that girl."
yeah, you look more human-like than anyone. Like there was probably another child in the fucking cell that didn't look as cute as a fucking little anime girl with raccoon ears, and he was like, "I don't want you. I want that one. That looks more human-like." And I'm like, what?
Yeah, but the thing with him, Naofumi, is that like it's because of like I think the things that he was accused of. I mean, he's not.
That's the worst part.
But I mean, the thing is, he's not a rapist.
No.
But it doesn't make him buying a slave. It doesn't make it any better.
Yeah, it's like a thing. Like that's awful that he was accused.
Yeah.
But to immediately then go buy a child slave.
Left turn, bro.
Hard turn.
Hard turn.
If you're like, I don't care what people think about me anymore. It's like, sure.
Right.
But of all the things to do.
Or I would
care
have
a little bit.
I would have liked it whereas like maybe again the fucking brand is a huge thing for maybe if she wasn't branded at some point he's like, you know what? I'm gonna let you free. Like you do you. I need you for this, but then at some point you can go. Whereas like we have a pact of my blood.
Yeah, I know, but it's so weird too because it's like for me it's like on one hand, maybe there is some sort of like character growth where we have to see him in this place of despair to see him grow, to see him have this arc, right? But even if he does remove the seal at a later point in time, it's like she could have already been kind of sort of brainwashed by that point.
Mm-hmm.
We already see him use pain as a motivator to make
She's
her
a
do.
child.
Yeah, so it is a weird thing.
Dynamic. And coming from a female writer, I'm like, okay, this is maybe different than like some other people that might watch the series like in the wrong hands. Like that's like, oh, like a cute little lolicon raccoon. Like it's just and then later you see, oh, they age differently. Then it's like, oh, come on.
See, I don't know about that. I didn't know anything about that, but
it's not spoilers. It's in the fucking first volume.
It's not in the first volume. Like where she ages differently. It's not in the first.
Yeah,
volume.
it is.
Point of order.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Megan.
Yes, it is.
It's Megan. I swear to you, it's not.
Point of order. I win.
It is
I think that might be a spoiler. We'll talk about it at the end.
There's chapter 7, right?
No, it's only 4 chapters. Live on the podcast, it has happened once again. Megan is always...
Okay. Can you just put like a little bleep in front of that?
A little disclaimer. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
fine.
record it after. Don't worry about it, Cody.
It's a little. It's fine.
And if
It's a
you're
little
watching
thing.
this, you know, yes, it's fine. It's not live.
I think it's fine because I think
I thought hold on.
It's
just keep
no. I mean,
going.
it's definitely 100%. Because
going.
there's a whole afterword at the end that says like, "Thank you for buying this volume."
The first volume.
Yeah. Like it's not just some sort of like arbitrary place that they decided to
I'm
leave
getting
it.
sweaty.
Did you just watch 7 episodes of the anime?
No, I read up to chapter 7.
Wow, you read 2 full volumes.
Wait.
No, wait.
Wait. Haven't you been giving comparisons to the anime?
Oh, she's seen the
I watched
anime.
a couple episodes of the anime. I think it. Yeah.
She doesn't want to give too much away. She's
no,
afraid
I already
now.
fucking gave it away. So sorry,
No, it's fine. It was a little thing.
It's fine.
And we're moving on.
Cody's gonna fucking kill me. Cody's gonna kill me. I'm scared.
Every day.
Every day you want to kill me?
Yeah.
There's just a brand on Megan's chest that starts sizzling. Anyway.
Oh my god! gosh! Okay, bleep it out. Okay, where were we talking about?
Okay,
oh,
so
yes.
yeah, basically they get to a point where they're grinding, they're doing all this stuff, and we find out that she has a traumatic past.
Yes,
and
she
that
does.
Is why
She does have a
doesn't
traumatic
want
past.
To kill animals because her parents were killed because she lived in a town full of demi-humans. She just found out. She just realized the error of her ways right now. Anyway, yeah. And so what Naofumi does in his own weird, tough love, sort of backwards way is he does sort of help her deal with that, even though it is in a, he's using pain as a motivator kind of way.
Which,
it
how
works.
How do you think Cody got here? But yeah, and because you find out too that they really, her family at least, really look up to the Shield hero and have deified him specifically.
That is the beginning of the mystery of why the Shield hero is vilified by the kingdom, but beloved by the demi-humans.
And that is mentioned. They do say that he is nice to.
Is that you talk about something?
Seriously,
They do say that he is known for always being kinder to demi-humans than anybody else.
yeah, he's so kind to her by enslaving her.
Kinder,
exactly. Yeah.
Kinder to
so
her.
it does imply a thing of like, why was he attracted not in that way, but to recruiting a demi-human? Like how much of it is people being influenced by
their role
yeah
in the world.
Because
sense.
that's the only reason I can justify him not going for the werewolf.
Yeah. But I mean, you do say that there are some things that maybe happen later. And this is stuff that Cody has said too, like problems
Cody said
that he has voiced.
And I said we can talk about it at the end.
Yeah, and I
in a clearly marked off spoiler section.
Well, hey, you got a little.
sorry, I got too excited and I wanted to like continue.
You said you didn't even like it.
I mean, I didn't really, but I had to find out what this character was all about because I knew things about her, and I was like, okay. And you had mentioned them before, even before we read it, you were like, I have this issue with this and this, and I was like, oh, that is weird. Yeah. But I had to fucking keep reading because I had to figure out where that changes.
Yeah, and
I did drop the series after a while because I started getting frustrated.
I think you might have mentioned it on the podcast.
I mentioned it on a collaboration episode.
That's even worse.
I mean, I don't think it's worse or better. I think
I'm just trying to dig myself out of this grave.
I mean, I don't think you're in a grave, Megan, and I'll say it.
You know what? I don't think I am either. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
So, not yet, anyway.
Yeah. If you are, it's in a different plot. You know what I mean? Plot as in grave plot, and plot as in story.
Yeah.
And in this plot, they go to a cave.
They do go to a cave.
Yeah, and Naofumi is just stuck doing grinding stuff. That's all this character can do. But you do see how it's like, well, he can unlock a pickaxe shield, which
use it as a weapon of some sort,
and also kind of pushing what a shield is. But,
it does a little bit. Yeah.
But this enhances my ability to mine, get diamonds, I can sell it for money. So I guess he is stuck with a shit build, but you can see how if you use it right. Yeah. It can be very good. He gets a rope shield.
A rope shield is very handy.
Which is just a grappling hook. Otherwise, I assume that's the worst shield in history.
Yeah. Some sort of air shield or something like that.
Yeah, he's starting to get to a point where it's like, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah. And you can see how he can possibly use these things to do something. At first, you're like, I don't know what he's going to be able to do. But then you see, I could see how this might be able to work. But they're confronted by an animal that looks like a younger, smaller version of the animal that killed her parents. And she freaks out. That's when he uses the rope shield because they almost fall off of this cliff. And he basically gives her this pep talk, tells her that he's going to be there for her, that he's going to be her shield.
While he's being mauled by it.
Yeah. He's like, deal with it. Move past your trauma. You need to kill it.
Or he does tell her to just run away at first.
Yeah.
And he says if you're not, that's the last thing he says. If you're not willing to do it, then at least run away.
Yeah.
And
so it's like, okay, all right. Well, I think now Fumi's kind of getting back.
That's what I mean. It's like a back and forth with him. It's like, is he, because he's doing these like morally ambiguous kind of this part of the story, but then he starts leaning more towards like being a good guy again. But yeah, she's able to take him out, this animal out, and she does it like very violently.
She kills all of the things very like.
Yeah, with like a dagger.
Blood. She's like covered in blood, and she's like, I did it.
The dagger, like she's stabbing one of the heads. The dagger breaks in the head, and then she uses the leftover blade to stab the other one. I mean, she's very violent, but she has sort of remembered her parents and their sort of bond with the shield hero, and is now like sort of sworn her allegiance to him because of all the legends that she's heard. But she doesn't know his name, asks him his name. He says Naofumi. They have Mr. Naofumi, and they do have this bond now. And they, this whole time she's been eyeballing other little kids playing. That's the ball thing, playing with this ball. So he's at a vendor kind of cart, and he's like, just get her the ball, And it is this tough love. Like he does in a lot of ways. What is kind of nice about him having a little slave girl is that he doesn't hear me out.
Love that.
Yeah, that
as
statement.
A start for a statement.
Hear me out. Is that at least in this story, he's not sexualizing her at all. He does feel like a kind of like either big brother or father figure.
Yeah, a credit to like as weird as the situation is, it doesn't then like find excuses to show underwear shots.
Yeah.
Which a lot of stories that are like not considered controversial just do to girls, like children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it is just she is just in body armor. That's the reason why I liked it, is that he was just a guy in body armor, and then his girl sidekick is just in body armor.
Yeah.
There's nothing where she goes, oops, and I'm like, that's a child. You're not supposed to show that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, their relationship it dips into being cute at times when he breaks and he buys her these things and he gives her these things.
Cute.
And I think that's the volume sort of ends around that part.
It does end right there.
There's a little bonus chapter.
I literally wrote.
She wrote notes for 7 chapters.
Yeah, I could.
Stops at 4.
I'm No, it's 4 right here. Seriously, I think when I was reading it on it, because it shows you like the volume count. I swear I thought it was up to 7.
Well, hey,
it's okay.
It's okay.
But I did write notes because I was reading it. It's just insane.
The next chapter over.
There is
It's because that's when they start expanding on the story post volume.
Oh, Cody's going through all the notes.
Mad. You know what? I mean, I would like to talk about this, but it's too far.
Well, let's just talk about for a second.
Our issues are the same.
Yeah, it was just it kind of just completely shattered.
What kept me going? Yeah. Oh wait, so are most of your issues post volume 1?
Yeah.
Oh, well, so she would have been very enthusiastic about this.
Probably,
if she followed the rules.
Yeah, the brand I think would have still rubbed you the wrong way.
I'm a bad boy. What can I say? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I say bad boy volume 1, huh?
You are the bad boy of volume 1.
Yeah, I mean, if being the bad boy means reading past what you're supposed to read, then you were definitely
constantly, consistently, enthusiastically
a bad boy.
But one thing I do want to talk about before we mark a place to talk about sort of some of those other things, because we could be a little more ambiguous about them and be more. We don't have to go into specific details. But
the thing is, like, I love the setup of the story so much, and it was like because I wasn't burnt out on doing like, look, I have +2 fire damage. Like I was able to like go through the story a lot, and I was like interested in the mystery and like what's going on with this character. And it helps that I watched the anime first, so the characters got like a lot more moments. But I kept being like, when are you going to capture that feeling in the beginning, and when are you going to like not do this?
This whole song and dance that we didn't need to go into, and it would have been a great story if just like one character was just.
And then you keep going. You're like, oh, another situation that you're like.
Yeah,
but the beginning was really good. But the thing is, if you were going to have an issue with the series, it would be stuff that happens post volume 1.
And that's what sucks about it, because I was really like, okay, what's going to happen next with these 2 characters? What I want to see them on their adventures. I want to see what is to come.
And what's up with the other heroes? What's going on with the thing?
And then just completely like
all that stuff. There are a lot of things that are in, and that's why it kept me going for a while. Like when I dropped it, I didn't drop it after like the 4th volume. I got near the end of the story,
Oh wow.
Before I was like, okay, I don't think they're gonna not do this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, knowing only what happened in Volume 1, I did kind of like it. I mean, I wasn't like in love with it, but I did read it and go, there was a lot of interesting things that I had never seen done before. Him being falsely accused of this thing, and just his sort of relationship with this demi-human that he's sort of coming around to and really starting to take care of. I did sort of like it, and I would have, and part of me still wants to, especially hearing what you guys are saying now, figure out and find out what is
But
continuing
the
to
series
happen.
continues to do a lot of really interesting things, and when you start seeing the heroes interacting more and more, and you start seeing like what one person does and how that can affect things, and every now and then there will be like, because I mean his thing is he can't use weapons, so how do you fight monsters with it? And that never stops being a recurring issue for him, and it is fun seeing him handle those things.
And I'm sure what we have issues with, people will just be like, get over it, like it's not that big of a deal and it happened and get over it. But just like to build this like relationship between these two characters and then just have it like kind of completely change the dynamic of it, and now it's even weirder than it was before. It is a bit like, oh, that's a shame.
Teetering on the line, but I think you managed to handle that pretty well. So that's the end of the Volume 1 discussion.
Yeah, I gotta say too, that little excerpt at the end really was very nice to have. It did kind of make me see that maybe the light novel version of Naofumi is a little different, or maybe given a little bit more depth. Obviously, you guys are saying he gets more depth, and a lot of characters get more moments in the anime versus the manga. I did think that Volume 1 of the manga was good, and I did think that there were things that were weird about it, but ultimately, I didn't have any huge problems with it. As far as like a Volume 1 goes, I think it was a fun read. But
I think it was an easy read, not only 4 chapters. If you find this, I don't see why you couldn't, just check out the first volume.
Yeah. So do we want to kind of give any last final thoughts, or do we want to have a little spoiler mark and maybe get a little into sort of maybe more of the issues, or do you think
we just gave final thoughts?
Well, I mean, I just don't know if you wanted to get a little deeper into the issues, or if you wanted to kind of leave it where it's at.
Should we have some sort of warning for this is post volume 1? Two of us got past that, and there is an important discussion to have relevant to how your opinion of the series will be time.
Yeah, maybe if there was a noise to indicate that we're getting into that section of the episode. It's spoiler time.
That works.
I like it.
It's like the king or like the person like introducing like someone of like
I got
royalty.
that. Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now, Bright Blade is.
Oh boy!
Okay,
It was
turn
a
it
setup.
on there.
What they do is explain that they have like a nanotechnology like implant to like interact with his brain that's going to read and translate data in a way that he'll understand, and it can read his body, and the more he like uses things, it can like improve his musculature and stuff, but it can only do it in like there has to be a time gap between, and it has to like get more time to recover and like read his body again. And also if he increases his intelligence too much, he starts getting headaches, because that is like, well, it's going to start opening so many neural pathways that you actually can't do that. You should upgrade other stuff.
You were talking about too with Shield Hero that they do end up explaining some stuff later about sort of the world as well.
So the reason why it's not just like for like shock that like he is accused and it is taken immediately seriously is, spoiler, if you're going to be mad at me, I don't know how many more warnings we can give, but it's a matriarchal society.
And they explain that later. Like, is it very far into the series?
It's pretty far, because you're like, oh, where's the queen? But it is far, like it because it's matriarchal in that universe. Yeah, women have more of a societal like advantage in the law too. Yeah. So that's why like someone could just do that.
Right. I mean, I think, to see it in this sort of like genre, to see it in this format, I mean, it made for an interesting story. And if they're going to take the time to sort of explain why that is something that would make sense in that world, then I'm for that. You know,
Megan, why don't you hit the people with the first issue that this story starts getting into?
Okay.
Which
yeah.
is in what volume?
It's in 5.
Oh wow.
It's chapter 5.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm dumb.
I was like, you went way past
misspoke.
volume.
I misspoke. No, it was the very next chapter,
Mhm.
which was kind of like a what?
Mhm.
Okay. Like, so pretty much the next chapter opens up with Nafumi at the blacksmith guy, his store, and you see little Rasputa. What's her name? Rasputa.
Her name is I have it here.
Rafisha?
Raftalia.
Raftalia.
Right?
Ralph.
You see her not as a child anymore.
Yes, I was.
And you're like, oh, maybe there was a time skip. Maybe in this world the time moves faster. Maybe it's just years on and he still hasn't figured it out. I don't know. That's what I just figured. And then she goes, oh, like the shopkeeper's being creepy, by the way, and she's just like, she goes, she's looking older, and she goes, yeah, we demi-humans, we age as we level up. So she's like, I'm still 10.
Oh,
but I look like I'm 14 now.
Yeah,
still very young.
I mean, from frickin' when she was like 8 years old.
Yeah,
time skip to 14 in just a matter of days.
Oh wow.
And then everyone's just creepy. They're like saying how pretty she is, and like it's still very weird. And Nafumi doesn't, of course, he's like still like, you're still a child, so that's cool that they. Yeah,
that's my question. So his relationship with her doesn't change. He doesn't start to
not yet.
Cody's face reveals a lot.
Not yet. But then we get to a point where again something happens where they are having. I won't give any of that away, but then it happens again. And she's 20 years old.
And then she's like, I'm going to just stop aging now that I'm at this age.
She can conveniently stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Because it is like, is she going to just like die of old age really fast? No, she's going to stop right about when she's your age.
She's going to stop right when she gets developed. That's all I'm going to say. Fully developed. But still, they make it a point to where mentally I'm still 10 years old.
Wow, I don't.
And they literally say that. Like, it's not just a thing where, like, oh, you level up and your age, obviously, your mental age would higher up.
No room
just
for
your
ambiguity.
Body. Just your body.
Wow.
Just the bod.
Not even try to dance around it. To just be like, to flat out say it.
No.
Yeah. And now, this goes beyond as the series goes. But this is not the only little girl that joins his team.
See, that's what I don't know about yet. And and they do the same thing, right?
They age rapidly, or
okay,
so
and then this
insane.
is another super.
I mean, you can
mark.
be vague, at this point.
But they do have a crush on Naofumi, and it is a little girl. And then there is another character who is obsessed with that little girl.
Who is not a little girl.
Who is a man who is constantly trying to kidnap her.
Oh, great.
And then I'm like, okay, so you got 2.
Yeah.
Now, and as the series goes on, you're like, well, now you have money. You can afford the werewolf.
Yeah.
Go get the werewolf. And he's like, oh, there's another little girl. And I'm like, all right, buddy.
It boggles my mind.
It boggles my mind.
It boggles my fucking mind because like I was so looking forward to this, like, I love like a little girl that's badass. Like I love a little girl that's like, I'm gonna fucking get crazy at fighting.
Like representation.
I get that.
You fucker. You will. I don't know the meme. I was gonna quote it, but I don't know.
You're definitely gonna feel some of her wrath.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I felt Cody's wrath. I thought he was gonna fucking kill me when I mentioned that earlier.
I was about to throw you out of the goddamn window.
I know. I was like really scared. But yeah, this story could have just been that. And
it seems. I think it's so just, heartening, and it's hard to hear because of how good Volume 1 was. I mean, all things aside, like I said, it wasn't a perfect story, but I think it had a lot of potential, and it was really cool. And I think that there were things that they were doing that could have made for a very interesting series.
That's the thing. There's a mystery going on with the society, with the world, with the other heroes, and it is all very well done and very interesting. And then you find out even more things about this world, and it keeps going. I don't think the story ever really drags on. The only thing that drags on is these convenient plot reasons for him to have another little girl join his team.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, all right, you get 2 because it's like, whoa, what are the odds? I'm like, all right, that is very odd.
It's like mentally I'm still 10, but I'm not a little girl anymore.
I mean, and that's the thing too, for them to flat out say it. I think, obviously it is part of this like, lolly sort of genre. I think that is,
prevalent.
very common. Yeah.
Yes.
In anime, but it is, I guess, to see it here, because a lot of times when you do see it, it doesn't really, there's really nothing beyond that. But here there is substance. There is like some cool aspects of the world and the power systems and the mystery.
If you took out his weird team, which, even the way the team works, that's what sucks too, is the power dynamic works as far as like roles. Now in like relationship power dynamics, but as far as like, well, this character does this character does this, I'm like, that's all well done. The plot that's happening is all well done. It's just really weird.
Yeah.
It's just the excuse to put a waifu in the fucking anime. Like, that's all it felt like to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, we're gonna age her due to this reason so we can have a poster waifu for this anime. And it's like, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you really didn't have to do that.
There is, like, a scene later on, you can see in the first season of the anime where, like, he interacts with the other heroes and stuff, and it was like, that is a really cool, well-done scene that shows these things with these characters. Like, it's not a badly written series. It's just weird choices.
I mean, and again, I don't know. I mean, I want to know more about the light novel. I want to know more about the anime. I want to kind of, part of me does kind of want to read it myself and sort of see it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But again, because clearly this mangaka is very purposefully doing whatever they're doing, or author. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just so like I just would rather watch another isekai if this is what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe start with ReZero.
The thing, like, I think this, like, Shield Hero was written better than ReZero. I just feel weird reading it and watching it, because it's like, this is like it's just happening too much that it's like, I don't know if I'm the audience for this.
Right. Yeah. And you don't know if you want to be the audience for this.
Yeah, because it's like, this is taking up a big portion of the plot right now.
And again, people are going to disagree. And, like, of course, like, the whole, it's demi-human. Like, of course, there'd be some type of difference.
Which are just humans with, like, animal ears.
That's it, too. Like, it's just so convenient to just do these things in the story to just make them waifus. And it's like,
it's weird.
We have to do that?
Yeah.
Like, we could have just...
Yeah,
maybe done a different route.
But story-wise, there's a lot of satisfying moments, a lot of really good payoffs with characters and depth you get. So, like, if it's not an issue for you,
well, yeah, I mean that's really what it comes down to.
I put up with it for a long time until I was like, I'm not going to invest any more time until I find out how this is dealt with. And when I found out the conclusion of it, I was like, never mind, I'm good, I'm checking out.
An actual quote is, so mentally I'm a child, but physically I'm mostly an adult.
Oh, boy.
What does mostly mean?
Yeah,
that is an actual quote. Mostly?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely weird. And now...
Adulting much?
Yeah, and now that you have a little bit more context, I mean, I'm sure there might be people who have made it this far who haven't seen or know anything about Shield Hero. But, I think what it does come down to is, for me and for, I think, you and Cody, it is weird. But it's up to you reading and watching, if it's weird to you or not. And if you think it's too much, or if you think it's fine, I mean, it's your call.
Yeah, in anime and manga, there's so many situations where I'm like, okay, I'll look past this weird stuff, because there's mostly weird stuff. I'll look past these things because I like the series enough to keep continuing, but this is just something that was like, okay, Like it kind of just ruined it. Like it just ruined it for me. I don't
It was
need
too much, and it was maybe worded and phrased and portrayed
it's-
in a way that was
It's like in your face. It's like, okay, like,
Yeah.
why did you have to mention it like 3 times in the fucking chapter? Like we get it. You're still 10 years old mentally. Like we fucking get it. It's just so odd. And like I couldn't look past it. And it happened twice where it's like, okay, she'll say this. No, it's like, okay, I'm gonna become a fully fledged
This reminds me of a Green Lantern story.
Oh boy.
Okay.
And if that sounds...
You got 2 book.
Yeah,
you got
2 book
You're
references,
squeezing a
and
lot.
you're squeezing a lot.
Yeah, in here.
It's the rising of the Decker hero.
Okay.
You already have
All right.
Decker month. We already
Oh, yeah,
had
it's
that.
Decker month.
Okay. According to people in the Discord, but not in
One
real life.
guy, ironically.
You think it's ironic, but
He
he has
it's
a way
ironic.
bigger fan base than me and Josh combined.
is
Oh yeah, people
completely
love Cody,
ironic.
and I will never understand it.
I understand
The
it.
thing is, I'm a loser.
Okay.
And that's relatable. You think I win?
You do.
I'm relatable because I lost in...
Can you tell your Green Lantern story so we can
Yeah,
wrap this up?
yeah, please.
The Green Lantern,
Uh-huh.
Hal Jordan, he meets they get a new recruit, and it's a little girl.
Mhm.
She's like 10 years old from her planet. Yes. She has like the highest willpower over there. And like he's like, welcome to the club, little sister. Like gives her a giant bear hug, and she's like, oh wow. And then they start interacting a lot, and then she's like, she has a crush on him, so she uses the power of the Green Lantern ring to age herself up,
Like a Tom Hanks.
and they immediately hook up.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
does he know it's her?
yeah, he's like, oh thank God, now it's not weird.
This was a recent story?
I mean, no, not recent, but it's not like a old storyline.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, green light."
Hey,
Yeah.
he got the green light from her.
Jesus, fuck, dude.
So what they do later? So that just happened. He's like, "What? She's of age," and so later on, because comic books aren't written by the same person. So like another writer, what he goes and explains is like, no, her species ages like mentally very fast.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's always that, isn't it?
Right.
but it's the opposite, which is like, well, her race, they mentally mature incredibly fast. So mentally, she was at the maturity level of a full-grown adult. All she did was mature her body to catch up to Hal Jordan, who immediately just jumped. At the
Hal did it.
Hal Jordan, the
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern,
the hero everyone
not
loves.
the OG. That's Alan Scott.
Right.
But in this case, it's
Not that.
I'm gonna stay, which is even.
No, it's worse.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's way worse.
See, they tried to give it. See, even
Both
comic
are bad, but
even
this is
comic books try to justify why it's okay to get with the little girl.
But she keeps saying this, but at the same time, her dialogue and her vocabulary is increased rapidly. So why would she still say that is so odd? Like she's talking, like having full conversations, being like, "Oh, you need to eat this, and you need to eat that, and you need to," like giving advice to this man. Before she was just like going along with it because she's a fucking little kid. So why does she keep saying that she's 10 mentally when like it's so
because they could have said, "I'm a demi-human," and I think the anime implies this more, where it's like, "I'm a demi-human. We age according to like the status we are given." And I'm not a human, so mentally I also age. That I just jump to being at that mentality,
and that would be great.
Sure.
But the manga, I think,
The manga's like, no, I'm still 10.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, at the end of the day, dude, I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to you. I mean, these are, fictional characters in a fictional world. It's weird to me. It's weird to us. But
and we've read a lot of weird things.
yeah, we read some weird
The
shit.
writing was really good,
And that's the bummer.
I put up with
That's
it
the part that's the
for
bummer, yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
Because
well.
it was so good. Because I am just like, all right, well, I'm not reading this in public.
Yeah.
But that was a really solid moment. That's a really solid moment. It does a lot of clever things.
So yeah,
But I'm
you
just
can
like,
look past it,
it's just,
good on
I'm not gonna finish it.
Good
if
on
it's
ya.
worth it to you, I mean, give it a shot. Maybe, maybe you'll be able to look past certain things. Maybe certain things won't bother you as much. But either way, the first volume was a pretty decent first volume. And I mean, at least that is worth kind of checking out and making your own decision on. So check it out. That's going to do it for our discussion / review of The Rising of the Shield Hero. And let us know, especially with this, let us know what you think about this whole subject. Let us know if you have read it, if it was a little weird to you, if it's something that you don't think is a big deal. Just give us your thoughts. And if you do decide to read it based on this video and our discussion, let us know what you think about it too, because it is an interesting dialogue, I think, to have. And
Definitely.
You can do that in our Discord. You can do that obviously in the comments down below too, but there'll be a link for the Discord down there too, and you can hop in there and we can really get to the bottom of this. Either way, we're not done yet. We still have one more segment to get to, and that segment is, of course, the Winner Circle, where Volume 1-chan scours the comments to find
This is a very
comments that you've left.
hoodie.
Yeah. Scours the comments to find comments that you've left on previous videos, and she picks a few. She reads them aloud, and we respond and react to them. If you want your comments to be read in a future Winner Circle, all you got to do is comment on this video or any of our previous videos. Volume 1-chan, start us off with the first comment, please.
Getting intense.
This one comes from Skullcore. Trying and failing to not laugh uncontrollably at that helmet.
What?
Ooh.
Wait, what?
I think he's talking about the Berserk,
My Femto
The
Griffith helmet that I
Femto,
worked
yeah.
very
Oh, yeah,
hard on?
your
No,
hero
it was
helmet that
so great.
Okay.
But the thumbnail is very, you look very
Epic.
funny.
Epic.
Mhm.
It looks epic.
It looks very
I
funny.
showed our good friend Miguel Gonzalez. I said his
Shout
name wrong
out.
as a joke.
Shout
I found out that he watched it enthusiastically, waiting for his name to be called. And I did a joke that he doesn't like the joke.
I think I look pretty cool.
You look
okay?
pretty
And
cool.
I showed it to him, and he said, "You look ridiculous."
I mean,
Oh.
okay.
It looks great, Josh. And
Thank
I'm
you.
not going to discredit that. It looked amazing. You did a
Thank
great
you.
job. But the thumbnail is very funny, seeing your little eye pop
My
out.
little
Your little
eye.
beady eye, yeah.
Your little eye, your little Griffith
Hawks
eye.
have little beady eyes.
They kind of have big eyes.
Birds,
I mean,
guess, have
birds
beady eyes.
famously have very good eyes.
Well, you tell us. You're the bird here, the bird expert here.
I love birds, dude.
Yeah.
I will have a pet crow someday, and then
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
be eating crow
Yeah.
because I will train it.
Well,
to...
you know what? You'll be eating, commenter. I was gonna say your words, but I don't mean that.
Oh wait, Griffith is a bird guy.
Yeah, a hawk. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's why you brought it up.
I just want to say, on one hand, I appreciate that I can bring you laughter. On one hand,
Yeah.
I can appreciate the fact
You're a
that you saw something I worked really hard on and you giggled and you couldn't control your laughter. On one hand, that does warm my heart. On the other hand, I wasn't my.
And it's so funny because you didn't even wear it on the episode.
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
thumbnail.
On
And
the other
before
hand,
he
yeah.
clicked it, he couldn't control his laughter. So that makes it even
that's
better.
a really
you
good
didn't even have
point.
to talk.
Yeah. On the other hand, laughter
'Cause
wasn't
you're
the
that
intent.
funny.
Laughter wasn't the intention. I didn't post it thinking people are going to think
Because
this
he's
is
not that
hilarious.
funny?
No, because it said you're funny. So like, people,
Oh, okay.
like
right.
you don't even have to talk because you're just that funny.
No,
People can stare
let
at you
me
and
correct you.
laugh.
It's because I look funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
And there's a difference. And
Mm.
I appreciate the comment. I appreciate, the shout out. I appreciate you noticing the hard work that I put into the helmet. And, it wasn't intended for humor, but if that's how you took it, then I'll take it. And so thank you.
I liked it.
Thank you so much. Volume
That's
1
very
please.
nice. Oh.
Please, can you read us another comment? Thank you so much.
This one comes from Ben Dreams. I always interpreted Griffith saying, "If you touch me now," to Guts to mean, "I'll never reach my dream." Guts made Griffith forget about his dream, so Griffith didn't want to be confronted by Guts in that moment. He wanted to be able to hate Guts.
I think that is perfect. I was kind of, when we read that, wondering sort of what people's different interpretations of that was, what the mangaka's intention was with that. And I do think that feels right. Like, I do hear that, and that makes a lot of sense to me, that he needed to hate Guts to be able to do what he was going to do, because there was still a part of him, as we saw him struggling with dealing with the repercussions of his actions. I think in order to take that final step and commit to it, he needed to be distant. He needed to not feel vulnerable. He needed to not be touched.
Well, I mean, like, Guts left, so that kind of completely fucked up his dream, and then he fucked up his own dream even more so by doing what he did. And then Guts is still trying to help him, and he should hate Guts at this point because he was the one person that stood in between his dream. So it is that you're right. Like this, you read the comment and we're like, oh shit, yeah, that kind of.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Cody,
should we? I was probably warranted a Berserk spoiler, Mark.
Well, I mean, we didn't give away exact plot details, so
no.
But I think that it's important that you say that so that we don't give away any Berserk plot details.
Yeah, we didn't say anything
because it is you're let in on very early in the series that their relationship is that way.
Yeah, and I didn't say what he actually did. It's just what had happened.
But thank you for looking out for the audience, and thank you for letting us know so that we didn't.
Thank you, spoiler police.
Yeah.
You say that like that's not a useful thing.
No, it isn't.
Well, before we go any deeper, Volume 1 Chun, can you take us out on one final comment, please?
This one comes from Paperback Art. I bid thee welcome to this distant setting, this abstract time, ye lambs of the ungodly god born of man. Enjoy this sacred nocturnal festival to the fullest. This video will be pain. Can't wait.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry for.
I mean, you did hit her, right?
Yeah, I think that transmogrified.
Yeah, I think that you felt her wrath.
And honestly, I'm glad. Yeah, it's so hot in here. I'm so glad that you picked that comment, Volume 1 Chun, because I just wanted to hear you read it. To be honest. Yeah. Honestly, there's no other point to really make other than I'm just glad.
Very cinematic.
Yeah. That's going to do it for the Winner Circle. You guys, thank you as always for watching and listening. Before we get out of here, we do, of course, have to thank our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Patreon members. Thank you guys from the bottom of all of our hearts for all of your support. Thank you for everything. Shout out to all of our new Patreon members as well. We see you. We appreciate you. And we love you. And if you would like to become a Patreon member, all you got to do to get early access, to get access to our exclusive bonus podcast and lots of other cool perks, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/volume1pod. And I do have to take a moment to thank everybody for watching and listening and supporting any other way, like through commenting, subscribing, and just being part of the algorithm gang. We appreciate and love all of you guys too.
Gang.
Cody's going to pass out from a heat stroke, so the only thing left to do now is to get out of here on our outro that's always the same and never changes, which today, of course, is...
There goes my shield hero.
Watch him as he buys a slave. Da-na-na-na. There goes my shield hero.
All right, I mean, I
guess.
Didn't
do it.
We could just say... yeah, we could just say, don't be a now for me,
Don't be a now for me.
Be I don't know. I mean, I guess we can sing your song. We could sing your little song.
No, let's think of something.
Come on. Professionals here.
Let's think of something. Okay. I mean, stay away from little girls.
Yeah, we should not.
I feel like we have said that before.
No, we definitely haven't.
And I feel like we shouldn't have to say it.
Yeah, no, we shouldn't have to say that's a warranted. That's the given.
We should say the rising of the Shield hero.
The rising of Volume 1.
Come on, guys.
Shield.
Sooner we got here.
Shield me from these. Well, I don't know. It's gonna be...
Sooner we get out of here, the sooner we can get some AC running.
Demi.
Shield me from this heat.
I mean, something.
Shield me from always deciding to bring a hoodie because I forget that it's going to be hot.
Spoiler, Mark.
Don't be a spoiler.
Don't be a spoiler.
Yeah, that's
Shield
fine.
me from spoilers.
Shield me from spoilers.
Spoilers.
Shield me from spoilers. All right, let's go.
Shield me.
As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time, shield me from spoilers.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we got our little post-episode combo.
I can't believe